Welcome to POSTCAST, which is kind of blurry tonight. I'm aware of that, and maybe symbolic. As the season comes to an end tonight, the Utah Jazz fall to the Memphis Grizzlies. And so, Ron, the easy answer, just if we specifically look at this game, is how'd they lay such an egg? But I'm not sure I think they laid an egg tonight. I thought, if they laid an egg, I think they might have lost by 30. The game, they physically played defense pretty well until the fourth quarter. They held Memphis to about 37% shooting much of the night. They just didn't have the offensive wherewithal to be able to get things going.
Well, they just didn't respond to the defense that the Memphis Grizzlies was throwing at them, and missed a lot of shots. Defensively, they didn't get it done in the third quarter, but I thought they played hard. I thought they were, from what I saw, was for the most part following the game plan, except I would love to have seen them shoot the basketball a little bit. I mean, run the floor a little bit more and more in transition. But it was a fun game, and it's kind of fun watching a team that wins differently than most teams in the NBA, and they do it from the defensive end of the floor.
I'm going to go big picture here for a second, just because I think that's where a lot of people want to go. So here's the question I would have about us. Against Indiana this year, we really had a hard time scoring. In Chicago, we had a really hard time scoring. In Oklahoma City, we had the top defensive teams who all are playing the exact same style, which is seal off the floor, push you to the baseline, keep you down on that side, don't let you reverse the ball on the pick and roll or anything. And the answer to this for most of the league is the high pick and roll. This is why the high pick and roll has become the #1 offense in the league, is because everyone's answering this defense.
Exactly.
And the Jazz don't run it. And the Jazz have been a left block dependent team. It's the first decision that the Jazz may have to make this offseason, is whether they really have to transition out of what has been the traditional Utah Jazz offense because of where Tom Thibodeau, the Van Gundys, and this defense has gone in this league.
And I would imagine that's exactly what they will do. I mean, I'm sure that it's amazing how in this league it's a copycat league, and whenever something is going well for different teams, you have to make sure you have the personnel for the most part to make adjustments and make changes. And that is a very good play. Why? Because you can run a pick and roll in the middle of the floor. You can run a double pick and roll in the middle of the floor. You can reverse it and run a double pick and roll in the middle of the floor. And when you have players that can run that and get you some good plays out of that, not necessarily just score, but can make plays out of that, then it's a very good offense to run. And I would imagine that Coach Corbin will put that in next year.
So there's a chance that we saw Al and Paul and Mo and Randy check out of the game. Al just put his head down. I don't know if he's crying or not. He just looked like he's been just driving so hard. I don't know who's back or who's not. I really don't have any idea. I'm not entirely sure the organization knows. I think the organization is going to set a value to each player, and if the market matches the value they have for them, we may see some of them back. But I'm certain of this. I don't think they're going to exceed the value that they see for these guys. I think that's the real level of what Kevin O'Connor and Dennis Lindsay have set this franchise up, is that they're not going to go sign a guy the way Memphis did for Rudy Gay and get caught in that situation or some of those kind of things in the past. But let's just talk about these guys for a second. We've had Al Jefferson for 3 years. We got to know him well. What's kind of your lasting impression of Al Jefferson?
Well, he's one of the few players that play with their back to the basket anymore in the NBA. And how valuable is that? It depends on your coach and what type of offense you want to run or defense that you want to use. And I think he's made a very good impression with this organization. I'd like to see him back, mainly because of that. And I just enjoyed watching him and broadcasting his games.
He's a fabulous teammate as well. He's worked very hard to get better defensively. It's obviously his liability, but frankly, there's a lot of offense players in this league that, and as he gets better offensively, and his effort in the end of the season, both the last 2 years, where he just simply picked up his team and carried them, was really impressive. Paul Millsap is the longest-standing Jazz member. He seemed at the beginning of the year as the most likely to come back, and then he turned down that extension. I think, quite frankly, he did not have a good year. And I don't know what his value is on the open market. I think somebody will probably pay him an awful lot. But he did not finish the year well, and frankly, he had very few extended stretches of good basketball this year.
Well, the middle part of the season, I thought he started to pick things up and play very, very well. It just seems like the last month or the last 6 weeks of the season, he's really been inconsistent and up and down, and I just didn't know where he was at and what what he was thinking.
And that's a really interesting circumstance, because is that the lasting memory, or do you as an organization think about the 7 years, or do you try to figure out how much he's changed? I mean, I found a note on him today that I thought was amazing. He had 19 straight double-doubles at one point the year Boozer got hurt. He did not have 19 double-doubles this season.
Well, it's you start looking at a basketball team, and you start looking at what players play best together, and this is what Coach Corbin went through all season long, trying to put those combinations out there on the floor, and not the combinations that were you would think were the right thing from the outside looking in, but what was the right thing from the inside looking out, from a coach's standpoint. And it was difficult for him, especially when you have young guys trying to get playing time, trying to improve, and then you have a veteran that was kind of inconsistent. So my impression and my last impression, if Paul Millsap is not back next year, is the way he came into the league. He came into the league as a very hard-working rebounder that had to improve his offensive game. He did do that, and I thought that during that stretch, especially in a couple of years, that his perimeter game really made him the player that he ended up being today.
So the goal of the organization this year was to be playoff competitive while still developing the young players. They did not make the playoffs. They were playoff competitive. They just did not make the playoffs. And now the question is, how did they develop? I don't think Dennis Kander, we've discussed it already, is done. Give me a quick synopsis of what your thoughts on how Hayward, Favors, Burks, and Kanter progressed this year.
I was very pleased with the second half of the season with all three of those guys. I really liked the way Kanter, from the beginning of the year, you could tell that his improvement right from the beginning of the year. I saw the improvement there of Favors probably the second half of the season, and Burks there as well, especially when Burks started to get some playing time at the point guard position and learning a different position. And then I thought that he started to learn how to play the game and what this game was all about. Favors, really impressed with him as well, David, rebounding the basketball. I thought his defense was coming on very, very well. He continues to lead the team in block shots, but then he started to get a little careless as far as fouling and taking himself out of the basketball game. And like I said last year at the end of the last season, I think Derek Favors needs to have a very good summer on working on offense, on working on being a threat offensively, having a signature move, something that you're very confident at having plays ran for him. And I really think he started to get it here the last, since the All-Star break anyway. And as you mentioned, he was working out with one of the coaches and starting to develop and working hard. His free throws improved. So this is going to be very important here for Derek Favors as well.
Jazz fans, thank you very much. We've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed our extra coverage we try to bring to you. And we will. I will continue on Locked on Jazz. Ron will go hit a bunch of golf balls, and we'll see each other a few times.
See you golfing around.
We will. Time to go hit them.
Yeah.
Go hit 1,000 balls before you play your first round. That's what they say. On behalf of Ron, I'm David. Thank you very much, Jazz Nation, for a wonderful season. Sorry we couldn't continue any longer. We don't really decide that. Have a good night. Good off season. Be safe.